Welcome back, everybody. ICast 2022. We're live here in the Nuke booth. I got my man Ray Martinez in the booth next to me. We're going to talk about the Honda Outboard. We don't have one set up in here right now, but I know we always get questions about it, right? So Ray's the guy to talk to. You utilize it all the time. And then we're going to transition to fishing with kids because you spend a lot of time on the water with your boys, so which is super cool. So I want to get into that because that always comes up when we're talking new canoes in the shop, right? Like you always get those dads that come in and they're like, I want a boat that I could take out by myself, but also take my kid with. So that's something that's always special here, man. So let's talk about the Honda first, man. Like, when did you start using it? Why do you use it? And why do you like using it?
Oh, yeah, man. So, I mean, obviously, we want to go further and further every time we're fishing. Sometimes you've paddled to your reaches, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go further than that, or I know that if I go to this range, by the time I get back, my shoulder's going to be blown out, or the wind is just way too strong to paddle against. So sometimes those elements come into play, and me being the guy that I am, wanted to get out there and still fish. The weather wasn't going to keep me off the water. There's always a little wind break somewhere that you can get to and catch those fish and get on them pretty good. So decided, hey, this Honda sounds like a great idea. New Canoe makes it extremely easy to put any motor on the back of your kayak. So it was just a relationship and a marriage that was just waiting for me to jump into. So I had the New Canoe already, had the F12, love the F12, threw the outboard on there, and it's been life-changing. I've gone so many places and further than I've ever thought I could ever go on a kayak, which blows my mind. I mean, I'll be out in places sometimes, I'll see boats, and they're looking at me like, how in the heck, or who are you, or what is that? Like, I'm like, you need one of these. They're like, man, that's a cool rig. I can't hear it enough, because every time I'm out there, I see somebody that's on a boat that never seen a kayak in that area. So I think it's really cool. And it's part of the real reason of getting it is just taking on the elements, going further, and then also bringing my kids, as we mentioned earlier. I'll bring them on, but not have the strength to paddle as far as I normally would by myself. For sometimes they pull the boat down a little much in the front, so it's a little harder to navigate and get through the water that way. But with the outboard, it makes it really easy to take one of your kiddos with you and push y'all through, and then to get to those places. Also coming back up river, if you're doing a little boomerang trip, you're not paddling that current, you're blowing that current out with that outboard, and you're able to scoot right up river. So it makes it really, really easy and a lot more fun sometimes, because you're not tired at the end of the day or worn out. You just got a lot of fish, and it's a good time.
Well, and the Honda's like super fuel efficient too, right? Like you mentioned distance, right? And whenever you talk to kayak guys, they're like, how fast can it go and how far can I go? So like, what's your range on that?
Man, I honestly have gone about 6 miles on one tank of gas. And that's just kind of low rolling it, not high output, just kind of getting through there. And it's super fuel efficient. Most times I bring a small 1 gallon with me, and that's really all I need. I don't even go through all my fuel, and I can go as far as I need to. If I want to bring a 2 gallon with me, talk about all day, man. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You bring a tent. You'll be camping somewhere, man. Got my own little chickie built out of a kayak. But no, it's so efficient and so and quiet for what it is. It's not extremely loud. It's not like some mud motor you got in the back of your thing. So you can still have a conversation with whoever you're on the boat with, and just not be annoyed completely by the noise. So it's nice to have, man, and it's super fuel efficient. You can go anywhere you want.
No, the quiet thing is huge, man. Because I know I got a good friend of mine. We go duck hunting, right? And he puts a 3-horse mud motor on the back of his boat, and I'm like, huh? What'd you say? Like, and we're right next to each other, man. And those Hondas are super quiet, per like a kitten, right?
Oh, meow, That's awesome. No, but seriously, you mentioned duck hunting as well, and that's actually something I do as well. And that was another facet and reason why I got the 2.3, man. It's quiet, it's efficient. I can go through those sludgier waters that happen to have that grass and whatnot. I can push right through those real easy. It's got the torque for it. I actually pulled a boat back one day with my kayak. I literally, yeah, it was awesome. They were kind of out of gas, and I was right where they were. And I guess they didn't bring enough gas, or I don't know what happened. Sure. Was able to pull that boat back. I think 2 miles is what I pulled them back, all with the outboard, tugging that thing about. Pretty cool. I didn't have a video of it at all, but I wish I did, man. It was really cool, man. I was just focused on getting everything back and getting everything safe.
That's boat owners look a shame when they're hanging there when a kayak's got to pull them back to the ramp. Right?
Yeah, no, heck yeah. It was actually funny. The funny thing is, it's just like a small duck boat, so it's not like some yacht that I was toting out in the middle of the water, but it's still kind of cool. Very cool to be able to do that and say I did that on a new canoe of all things, right?
For sure, man. For sure. I mean, what is the biggest question you get around the outboard? Because I'm sure you get a lot of questions. You're in Texas. People see you ripping around. What are the biggest questions or concerns that guys may have about putting an outboard on the back of their new canoe?
Yeah, oftentimes, like you kind of mentioned already, is how fast does it go? How long does it last? And really, how light is it? How heavy is it? And that's another thing I've covered. That it's extremely light. You don't feel like even when you're moving it and transporting it around. I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'3". So if I feel like I can do it, anybody can do it, right? So you can move that motor around really efficiently and effectively. It doesn't put a lot of weight on your boat. You don't feel like you're hauling extra weight just because of the outboard. So yeah, those are the main questions I get, and they're pretty easy to answer most of the times. It goes plenty fast, and it gets you right where you need to go, or even further. I don't think many people go that far oftentimes when they're fishing, because if you're fishing effectively, you're probably catching them within that range anyways. But let's just say it's stacked full of boats. You happen to end up on Sam Rayburn on a tournament weekend, which I happened to go on one day. It was I didn't know there was I should have checked, but I show up to Sam Rayburn and there's a 300 boat tournament or more, probably at least 600 boats on the water. That it's a huge lake. I'm sitting there like, well, where can I go that hasn't been beat? I'm a kayaker. I got to get there. So I was able to take that mud motor and scoot into a spot that literally most boats couldn't get into, but a kayak could, and made it work. And so it's a really fuel efficient, awesome tool and it's changed the fishing game for me and the duck hunting game for me. So I love it. I'm absolutely a big fan of Honda.
Yeah. No, I dig it, man. I dig it. So transferring off that, man, and you mentioned it's key for like when you take your kids out on the water. And I know you, man. You're a family man. I've seen you spending time with your family here at the show this year. Super cool. But like I said at the beginning, like when I'm working at the shop, right, I always get that dad that comes into the shop and he's like, I want that kayak that I can convert between one person and two people. And we're always pointing them to the new canoe. It's either a Frontier 12 and Unlimited or whatever it may be. But like, super cool that you've gotten your kids into the sport. They love it, and it's a great way to have that father-son bond or father-daughter bond. Like I'd take my daughter out kayak fishing sometimes, So like, what's been super cool and unique about the fact that you could take it out with you?
Yeah, man. Originally, back in the day, I had a different kayak that wasn't a stand-up kayak. It was an angling kayak. It was a paddler's kayak, which is great. Once the game started going more towards these stable platforms for anglers to stand up and fish. I saw that, but what I really saw wasn't so much of the fishing ability. It was the comfort and security that I had about putting another person in the boat with me. At the time, my boys were really young, and I had a dog that I took with me often. So I wanted to take him out. He was my test dummy first, my trial partner. So poor guy, but I mean, he could swim. He was a small heeler, so he wasn't very big. Put him on the kayak, saw that he was stable enough for him to walk around. So I automatically enjoyed that, being able to take my dog with me. As the boys started to get a little older, I said, this is definitely a boat that I feel comfortable with them on. Put them on the boat, and I haven't looked back since. We have gone on countless trips. Well, I don't ever worry about them falling over or tipping out of the boat. My oldest is now 12 years old. I feel like he's been paddling the Flint too, so he can, the boats are so stable and so comfortable that he's able to paddle on his own. And I can have my 9-year-old on the boat with me, tandem on the F12, and we're able to go together, and all together. My one's paddling, and there's a tandem boat there, so it's really cool to get us all out. And then eventually, that he'll have his own boat. But even if they don't want to, I'll always have the room and the space and comfort inside of a new canoe where we can be together on the boat comfortably, no matter how big or tall they get, because they're going to be taller than their dad. But I've done it with friends, buddies that don't have boats, and honestly, I like taking a buddy with me, because in a kayak, there's not a whole bunch of space, so you stay really close. Sure. You have the conversation, you're fishing together, and you're on a tandem boat that is perfectly capable of doing that, but you still are kayak fishing, so you can still go where a kayak goes. You can get as skinny as you want, and it's just the same adventure without having to buy into a big boat or something like that. So I love that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it super affordable. I mean, you look at boat prices and gas prices right now, and they're just ridiculous. Yeah. Whereas, with the kayak in the setup you got, again, we talked about the fuel efficiency with the Honda, which is key, especially with fuel prices today. When you're talking about running 12 miles on a gallon of gas, it's pretty impressive. But for those guys out there, right, and they're on the fence, like, I don't know if I can take my kid kayak fishing, or what are some of the concerns or like hurdles that you faced with fishing with the kids? Like, do you got to tell them to calm down, quit jumping around, like, things like that, man?
Yeah. So you're taking the kids out. There's always the aspect of making sure that they're safe. Yep. And also, as an angler, you always want to make sure that you're safe. Sending them on the boat, you have to kind of set some ground rules. Hey, these are hooks. These hurt. I actually let them touch the hooks with the finger. Like, hey, that look, you touch it like that, it already starts to go in. You make a sudden move, do something funny, fall. You could fall on a hook. It could get really dangerous. So just be careful. Keep that in mind. Always make sure you know where your hooks are. That's always a big deal, because no matter what, that's the number one factor on a boat, right? And the cast aspect is learning where your partner is and on the boat and how to cast. Always look back. So you're watching for those hooks. It's just a big deal. And I think we all have known that as an angler. Most of us have gotten hooked, or fishing with a buddy, we've gotten hooked by a buddy. Probably don't take that buddy out much anymore, but but it's your kid, you kind of stuck with them, right? So, and you want them to grow and be better and keep others safe. And as they grow into their future, or as an angler or whatever it is, that they know those rules and it kind of sticks with them. But yeah, just staying safe about the hooks, and then also keeping the hands in the boat. Let's keep the hands in the boat. Let's make sure, because at any time the rocks and rapids can take you somewhere on the river. If you're on a river, I'm a river paddler myself. We'll go down river. So you want to keep those hands in the boat so nothing gets cut, smashed, or broken off, or something crazy. And then also keeping the center of the boat. Stay centered. Obviously, we're in a new canoe. You're going to be in a very stable platform, but stay centered. Keep a wide base when you're standing. And then also no quick movements, because there's two of us, right? So I'm standing up doing this and you jump up, I'm going to jolt off. Or if I'm leaning on the side or something to that effect, it's just all about the awareness on the boat. And then also just have a good time. Enjoy it. Have fun. Get out and swim if you have the time, and then bring plenty of snacks. Always bring plenty of snacks. They'll eat them all in the first hour like mine do. Oh, man, they eat them all in the first hour. And always hold some reserve. That's a key. That when they think they got them, and then you're like, oh, they'll go, Dad, I'm tired, or I'm like, oh, we got another mile left and we're out, And most times they don't, but sometimes they do. It's hot in Texas. I'm like, well, did you want some more of these? So we pull out the extra things, and and bring some. My kids were really young, so I'd bring a couple of toys with them, some like kind of water toys, so they get to splash their dolphin in the water, their shark, and like, oh, it's actually in the real water. I'm like, yeah, put it in the fish's mouth. Look at my toy. It's a Cinco, or it's a swim bait. A crankbait. So yeah, it's just a way for them to have fun, and also give them my extra bait so they can feed them to their little shark or something. So it just makes it fun. Sometimes you got to get real granular, and you wouldn't expect that to kind of be the case on the water, but it's a lot of fun. And as they progress, it just becomes a natural thing for them.
Well, not only that, man, you're making memories for a lifetime, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Like there's memories I look back on fishing with my dad growing up, and I've tried to do that with my kids as well. And it's something that like they may not cherish right away, but when they get older like us, dude, it's like something you always reflect back on, and it definitely hits close to home and holds close to the heart. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the conversations that you have out there, there's no distractions really, right? There's beauty in nature. And those are maybe the distractions. But those are the distractions I want them seeing. I want them looking at the birds. I want them seeing the trees. I want them looking at, look at the different types of fish, or maybe there's some wildlife or some deer on the sides. And in between all those beautiful things, you're able to have deep conversations, meaningful conversations. Let's talk about what your challenges are at school, or let's talk about what makes you happy, or maybe you don't have to fish, but this is a good time for you to just kind of get out and explore and understand and appreciate the world that we live in. And there's a bigger picture than those concrete buildings and whatnot that are there. Just giving them both balances of each aspects of life, and so they can make those decisions and have that form. But really, the time spent on the water, as you said, is so memorable and so cherishable. I don't think anybody could deny that. And I think most people could even say that, even if they're not fishers. I hear so many people talk about, like, my great granddad or my grandpa was a fisherman, and I wish I would have just fished with them a little more. And there's even songs, you have that time to you cancel that bass trip, but dad really wanted to do it, and there was value in that, and there was so much fun in that. And whether or not you were the angler, there was so many things that just create you as a person out there and make you a better person. I feel like
I agree with that 100%, man. It's huge, and I cherish those trips out anytime I can still go with my old man, go with my kids now, and not only that, but you mentioned something when you were talking about like teaching the kids, like, pay attention where your hook is and stuff like that. And I've seen my kids like gone out fishing, and they're teaching their friends that, and it's educating those young brains at a young age, so that way it develops. And then, they're like, hey man, we should go fishing. This is a lot of fun. And then they're teaching that, and it just continues on through the generations, and it keeps our sport alive, which is cool.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the friend situation there. I think that's really cool. Yeah, they're teaching their buds, or later on in life, they find other angler kids that had similar backgrounds with their fathers. And that honestly, some of my best friends today I met in angling, and it's partly because we started there. We still do it now, but we hold those memories. Like we have that same feeling still. And that's probably why, a lot of us here at New Canoe have that relationship. It's a family, because I think a lot of us had that background, and we see that. And just like we're talking here, I'm learning things about your childhood and you and how it kind of came about. So yeah, it's all it's all circular. It all comes together, man. Nice. I love it.
For sure, man. Any last thoughts, things you want to throw out there for the good folks at home, man?
Oh man, just get out as much as possible. Enjoy it. One day at a time is all we get. And so if you got the time to do it now, do it now. Don't wait a week or a month or a year. Do it today. Get out there today and have some fun. And it's going to maybe be challenging, but that's part of the adventure, and enjoy it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll be back at 11 o'clock with Jordan May. We're going to talk about fishing inshore, offshore, in the unlimited, and how he utilizes that. And we're just going to continue on through the day. If you guys notice, we're wearing these River Wolf T-shirts. Our boy River Wolf, that's our theme of the day today. So we're going to have a special segment this afternoon. I highly encourage you guys to tune in on that. I know on all the Unlimited podcasts, I've been talking about it, giving updates as we're getting updates about Sonny, and kicking butt. He's getting better and better. and we're just praying, fighting for him, keeping him in our positive thoughts. And he's usually here every year. And last year was the first time I ever got to meet him in person. And he's a stand-up. So
yeah, I love Wolf, man. That's my boy, Sonny. He's one of the most genuine, awesome people I've ever met. And just passing by and just meeting, and one day you can fall in love with that guy. He's a great person, man. Prayers out to him, and he's fighting a good fight, and wish him all the best.
Heck yeah, man. All right, guys, we'll see you here shortly, about 11 o'clock. We're going to talk a little saltwater fishing with our guy Jordan May, fishing out of the Unlimited, and we'll see you guys then. Just keep staying tuned for the rest of today. We got shows pretty much every hour or every other hour. So we'll see you guys here in a little bit. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.